so glad you're here today. So we have been looking at heaven's hospitality, what it means to actually walk in the ethics of hospitality today as we look back at the stories of what happened in the Bible and what the biblical Middle Eastern ethic of hospitality of being communal and generous, sacrificial, inviting the presence of God and the plan of God into our circumstances. We've been examining different Bible narratives to see what happened to those that were in these circumstances that actually honored these ethics. Today in 1 Samuel 25, we're going to discover that sometimes, even when we are culturally oppressed, we can actually show hospitality in such a way that we are loyal to those that may be making poor choices and loyal to those that could make really bad choices and be a catalyst for change in someone's life by how we show our hospitality towards them. In today's Bible story, this is what we're told. At this time, Samuel had passed away, and all of the nation Israel had gathered together in the land of Moab to place him at rest in Ramah, his home. And David was out hiding in the desert of Moab in the desert when he had heard that a very wealthy man who lived in this region was out preparing for the sheep shearing festival, the time when they would clip the wool of their sheep. This man was so wealthy, but he was known to be very mean and rude to people. And his name was Nabal, and he was a Calebite. But his wife, who was named Abigail, she was known for her beauty and known for her wisdom. Well, when David heard about the sheep shearing that Nabal was doing, he went ahead and sent along 10 men that he trusted out of his young leaders to go to Nabal and say, "Peace to you, peace to your family, peace to all who are under your care. On this day of feasting, would you please find favor and give to my men and to me?" Well, the servants left of David and his young men, and they went to Nabal to give this message. And when they arrived and they told Nabal this message, Nabal's response was, "Who is David? Who is this son of Jesse? Servants are leaving their masters every day, running away. Why should I give my bread? Why should I give my water? Why should I give my meat that I have prepared for my men? Who's to say who these servants really are?" Well, David's servants got up and they went back to David. And they told David everything that Nabal had said to them. And David raged. "Get your swords!" And he picked up his sword and he gathered up 400 men to go with him and had 200 stay behind to care for the supplies. And then David left to go confront Nabal. Well, back where Nabal lived, a servant of his went immediately to Abigail and he said, "Abigail, you need to do something, because if you don't, Nabal and all of this household is going to die." Because David had sent 10 of his men to come and tell Nabal, "Please find favor of us and us and give us some food in this time of feasting." But Nabal, he ridiculed his men and sent them off with nothing. But what you need to know, that when we were serving in the desert and David's men surrounded us, we didn't have to fear anything. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was taken. It was like they were a wall before us, both day and night. "Abigail, what are you going to do?" This man, Nabal, is out of control. Who can do something? He's just evil. Well, Abigail immediately got in a hurry and took care of things as fast as she could. And she gathered up 200 loaves of bread. And then she gathered up 2 skins of wine that was from an animal and filled it. And then she gathered up 5 sheep that were already prepared and a full bushel of grain that was already ready. And then she said to her servants, I want you to go ahead and go before me with these, and I will follow along behind you. And then she got on a donkey, and then she headed out into the valley. And when she came to this mountain range, David and his men were coming down towards her, and she heard David saying, I can't believe this. We have served this man. We have given to him and protected him day and night. And this is how he repays us. He gives us evil for our good. I tell you, before this day is out, every single one of his men will die. And if it does not happen this way, may the Lord strike me as surely as the Lord lives. Well, when David approached Abigail, she immediately got off her donkey and she fell to the ground. And she said, Master, would you please listen to me? Please, would you have ears to hear and just forgive me for what has happened? Please do not think of that fool Nabal. His name means fool, and he does many foolish things. I am sorry I was not there to greet your men. Please do not shed blood. Please do not allow your hands to be the one that causes vengeance. I have brought a gift to you, and give it to your men. Please, the Lord has given you this kingdom. And as the Lord lives, may you receive the kingdom that he has given you. And though enemies may come after you, and though they may try to harm you, he has kept you as a hidden treasure. And he'll let no harm come to you. For he alone is the one who has set you apart as the leader of Israel. And he alone will fulfill the promises that he has made for you. He will make them happen. Will you please forgive me that this has occurred? David, he's like, praise God, he said. The Lord has brought you to me this today. You have been used by God to stop me from shedding blood and having this on my conscience. Yes, you have common sense, and it is good what you have said. Please, I will receive your gift. I take it. I want you to go home and go in peace and know that I will do exactly as you have asked of me. Well, Abigail went home. And when she arrived, Nabal was throwing a feast like he was a king. And the feast was so grand, he was so drunk. She knew she couldn't say anything to him. And so she waited until morning. And the next morning when Nabal woke up and was no longer drunk, she told him everything that happened. And immediately Nabal's heart became weak and he fell down and he was so still. And 10 days later, the Lord struck him dead. David received word that Nabal had died. And he praised God. He said, God has heard and he has seen the way that Nabal has treated me. And he has received what he deserved. So he told his servants, I want you to go and I want you to get Abigail. And I want you to ask her, will you be my wife? And so the servants went and they asked Abigail, will you be David's wife? Well, Abigail immediately got on her donkey and loaded it up and took 5 of her female servants, and she left to go become the wife of David. May God honor the sharing of his word. As we listen to this passage, there are many things that we can learn from the different people that are involved. What do you learn about Nabal's behavior? Was he communal? Was he generous? How about sacrificial? Was he willing to welcome the presence of God and the invitation of God? What about David? Was he willing to be communal, generous, sacrificial? Was he willing to welcome the presence of God and the invitation of God? How about our two people that are the ones that were most oppressed, the servant of Nabal and the wife of Nabal? How did they model for us the ethics of hospitality, even in a very difficult circumstance, in a place of oppression? How were they communal? How was the servant and Abigail generous and sacrificial? What did they put at risk by doing what they did? And how did they welcome the presence of God and the invitation of God? I love this Bible passage because when I look at it, I see the reality of what happens when one ignores the ethics of hospitality. What happens when one is willing to be changed by it? And what happens when one person, whether a servant or a wife, are willing to make change? It's fun to be in the Word and be with Jesus because truly we will be transformed. Shalom, y'all.